Hello and welcome to the ManageIQ Sprint 154 review. This was a regular 2-week sprint. As always, I'll give the overview. Harpreet will update us on the UI, Adam on the providers, Joe V on the platform, Alberto on the API, and Jason on the developer experience. Okay, so this is the overview of the pull requests for the last 10 sprints. As you can see, the numbers went back up between 153 and 154. So 180 pull requests were merged. That's the most since Sprint 149. 251 pull requests were opened, and 387 are still open. Maybe a bunch of those are works in progress or just old and need to be closed out. As far as the distribution, 25 pull requests for bugs, 28 enhancements, 16 refactorings, 15 technical debt, and a lot of other stuff, which I would assume means a lot of developer-related things. And with that, I'll turn it over to Harpreet and the UI.
Thank you, Oleg. Hello, everyone. Total of 26 PRs were merged in UI repo. Out of that, 9 bug fixes, 1 enhancement, and so on. Some of these bug fixes were related to ITNN and tests. I don't have any major PRs to show screenshots. So for the bug fixes, a bug was fixed to maintain focus in toolbars when switching between toolbar button groups. And then alignment of search submit button was fixed on topology screen. A bug was fixed on policy condition edit screen that was causing a nil error in some cases. And also an issue was fixed on the list views in some cases when unselecting all checkboxes, it was throwing a JS error. Also, for enhancements, aggregate card to show host initiators was added to block storage dashboard and summary screen. I have a screenshot for that on the next slide. And with that, that's all I have for the UI. Over to Adam.
Thank you, Harpreet. Over to Adam.
Thanks, Harpreet. So in terms of provider and the core, Drew finished a long set of work to replace the VM genealogy, which is currently using relationships with simple ancestry. So since VMs only come from templates, we don't need all the complexity of relationship because it's just going to be a parent from another VM in that VM stable. So she did a schema migration to move all the relationships over to Ancestry and got that cleaned up and merged the sprint. So that was an awesome change. We also added, Jason added the ability to subclass providers by adding an Axis leaf class directive. Before, this wasn't really possible for a number of reasons. One was we only allow creating leaf classes, and two, STI queries wouldn't work because for example, if you subclassed OpenShift from Kubernetes, if you looked for Kubernetes container groups, you would also get all the OpenShift ones. So he added a change to core, which allows the queries to find only, for example, the Kubernetes container group. We have a bunch of possible candidates to do this type of subclassing, one of which is we could do a Red Hat subclass, a Red Hat virtualization subclass of Overt. OpenShift is already now subclassed from Kubernetes, so we made that change as well, and that cleaned up a bunch of mix-ins. So instead of using inheritance, OpenShift and Kubernetes were using a bunch of mix-ins because of this issue. So that's now just using simple inheritance, and we have a number of candidates that we can use this for in the future. So look forward to seeing that in future sprints. Next slide. The AutoSDE team added the operation to create new host initiators. These host initiators were added in previous sprints. Now they have the operation on core and in their provider to actually create new ones. They also extracted their AutoSDE SDK gem. It's an open API client that was in their provider. They extracted it to a proper gem, and it's on Ruby gems now, which is great. IBM Cloud Power Virtual Servers fixed a number of issues with the cloud volume operations that were discovered when it was, I think, actually tested. And then On OpenStack, we moved the Cinder and Swift managers out of core and into the OpenStack plugin. These were in core historically because we wanted them to be able to be added standalone, but they were never actually not dependent on the OpenStack plugin, so they wouldn't actually work unless you had an OpenStack Cloud Manager as a parent. So we figured we'd make that more of a formal dependency. It's in the OpenStack plugin now. These are OpenStack services, so it kind of makes sense. And we'll tackle allowing them to be added standalone in a separate set of work. They don't have to be in core in order for them to be not added as a child of a Cloud Manager. Next slide, and I think that's it. Over to Joe.
Thanks, Adam. So a whopping 61 PRs were merged across the platform space during the sprint. 36, not listed on the slides, however, were improvements to our continuous integration space, including improvements to the MIQ bot and a lot of PRs for coding style verification by Robocop. For notable enhancements contributed, Martin H. improved our API HTTP basic auth documentation. Brandon added a cron job along with a README for cleaning up expired DigitalOcean buckets. And Brandon and you both contributed updates for Ruby version. Satoe contributed enhancements to the build by omitting some unnecessary files. And for notable bugs, Adam fixed a bug by not preferring the loopback IP address in the MIQ environment. Joar fixed an improperly formatted server memory threshold error message by making sure the specific values were properly passed to the formatting of that message. And for technical debt and refactoring, Jason contributed PR to hide the old generic run commands and now provides a more specific mount and unmount methods. And Drew, you contributed some refactoring to ensure proper Ruby accessors and prop shortcuts were being leveraged where possible. And Dan did a good job of reducing our maintenance workload by removing some no longer needed code. And that's it for the platform space. On to Alberto for the API.
Thanks, Joe. So for the API, David enhanced the options for API tenants. So it now exposes the quota definitions that can be used for the UI forms. Next slide, please. And Lucy enhanced the customization templates endpoint to enable basically the create, updates, and delete. We only had the get before. So first signature here is for the creation. Second one is enabling the bulk query action. Then the group for edits. So we have the post with the action edit signature or doing a put on a patch on the resource. And then the deletes, you have the delete action, the edit post, or just the HTTP for delete. And that's it for the API.
Hey, on the developer side, Adam did a ton of work on our cross-repo tests. He changed it so that repositories could pass a test suite environment variable. And this, he tweaked some of the repos that were inconsistent in that way. And so by passing a test suite environment variable, he was able to trim down all the Travis YAMLs to make them consistent across the board, allowing cross-repo to run tests that weren't only Ruby, but they could run other things like Node.js tests or ManageIQ UI service. So it was really a lot of work and really great, and should be able to do that with the bot in an upcoming PR. And that's it on the developer side.
There's more.
Oh, there we go. These are some examples of the matrices that you can see that can be generated by passing the test suites. So previously you could only run essentially the Ruby tests. Now you can run any test suite that you need to. I believe that's it. That's it.
Very good. The next sprint will be in 2 weeks, this next sprint review. So we're planning for a normal standard 2-week sprint. And with that, I would like to thank everyone in the community for their contributions, as well as thank the presenters for giving us a tour of what has changed. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.